This is an occult book called the Sacred Tarot, and as you can see, the concept of 3 regular 6s and 3 reverse 6s is utilized. The reverse 6s are boxed, the regular 6s are circled. We find the same concept being utilized by Antipope John Paul II. This is an overhead shot of the Vatican City government building, which is directly behind St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. Directly in front of the Vatican City government building, we see John Paul II's coat of arms designed in the bushes. On the left-hand side of his coat of arms, we see 3 reverse 6s designed in the bushes. On the right-hand side, we see 3 regular 6s designed in the bushes. Speaking about the end times, our Lord gives us one of the biggest signs in Matthew 24:15. When therefore you shall see the abomination of desolation, which was spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, he that readeth, let him understand. There were 2 abominations of desolation predicted by Daniel the prophet, one that was fulfilled in the Maccabees, and one that will take place at the end of the world. In the books of the Maccabees, there were 4 false high priests. The first false high priest is named Jason. It says that his election is invalid because he did not possess the faith. He started the syncretism and the apostasy during this time. He was referred to as King Johnny, and he introduces the wearing of a broad-brimmed hat. John the 23rd, who was the first antipope of the Vatican II Church, is named John and was frequently seen wearing a broad-brimmed hat. The apostasy and the syncretism explode during John the 23rd's reign, starting with Vatican II. Moreover, his anti-Catholic ideas and his secret membership in Freemasonry made his papal election a fraud. The second false high priest in the books of the Maccabees is named Menelaus. He introduces the abomination of desolation, which is a second altar placed upon and over against the real altar of God in substitution of the true sacrifice. Paul VI is the second antipope of the Vatican II Church. He imposes the abomination of desolation, which is the new Mass, an integral part of which is a table or second altar upon and over against the Roman right altar. Lysimachus is the third false high priest in the Maccabees. He reigns for a short time and is killed over the treasury. John Paul I was the third antipope of the Vatican II Church. He reigns for only a month, and according to many, is murdered over the Vatican Bank. Alcimus is the last of the false high priests in the Maccabees. Alcimus has the people of Israel so conned that they refer to him as Alcimus the Pious. Alcimus is the most dangerous of the lot, and it states that he mingles with the heathens. John Paul II is the 4th antipope of the Vatican II Church. Antipope John Paul II has the people of the world so conned that they refer to him as Mary's Pope. He is the most deceptive and charismatic of the lot, and John Paul II mingles with every pagan religion on the face of the earth. The apostate Jews during the time of the abomination of desolation occupied the large western wing of the city. The apostate Catholics and the abomination of desolation occupy the large western wing of the church, the Roman Rite, as opposed to the Eastern rites, which do not have the new Mass. At no time in Jewish history were women involved in Jewish liturgical practices except at the time of the abomination of desolation, and then they were all over the altar. During this same time, the Jews rejected their covenant with God, and the Holy of Holies ceased being a central part of Jewish worship. Similarly, our tabernacles have been moved from their central locations on the altar, We have women all over the altar, and the apostate Catholics have abandoned quo primum, the bull by St. Pope Pius V, which codified the Roman rite of the Mass. What we're seeing is that the persons and events surrounding the abomination of desolation that occurred in the Maccabees substantially resemble the abomination of desolation that is taking place now. If the parallels with the Maccabees aren't enough to prove that the new Mass is the abomination of desolation, which will stand in the holy place, Daniel the prophet ends the debate once and for all. In Daniel chapter 9, we find Daniel's famous prophecy of weeks. This prophecy has to do with the slaying or the cutting off of the Messiah, and the slaying or cutting off of the holy sacrifice of the Mass. Know thou, therefore, and take notice, that from the going forth of the word, to build up Jerusalem again, unto Christ the Prince there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. And after 62 weeks Christ shall be slain, and the victim and the sacrifice shall fail, and there shall be in the temple the abomination of desolation, and the desolation shall continue even to the consummation, and to the end. Now this prophecy has 2 fulfillments, one from the going forth of the Word in the Old Testament, and one from the going forth of the Word in the New Testament. What we are concerned with is the going forth of the Word in the New Testament. The going forth of the Word in the New Testament clearly occurs when St. Paul and the other apostles go forth from Jerusalem to preach the gospel. The apostles go forth to preach the gospel in 37 A.D., with the conversion of St. Paul, who takes the gospel to the Gentiles and to the rest of the world. Now Daniel says that from the going forth of the word, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. And after 62 weeks, Christ shall be slain. In Daniel chapter 9, the 7 weeks are not repeated the second time, but the time interval is clearly intended to be the sum of the 7 weeks plus 62 weeks, meaning 69 weeks until the slaying, or as some translations have it, the cutting off of the Messiah, or the cutting off of the Mass. 69 weeks equals 483 days, and everyone has understood this prophecy to be a day for a year prophecy. In other words, the 483 days equal 483 years. The final piece of the puzzle is fourfold. In Jewish law, one who steals a sheep must make restitution fourfold. Exodus 22:1, if any man steal an ox or a sheep, and kill it or sell it, he shall restore 5 oxen for 1 ox, and 4 sheep for 1 sheep. In the same way, King David pronounces a similar sentence on a man who had stolen a lamb. 2 Kings 12 verses 5 and 6. He shall restore the ewe fourfold, because he did this thing and had no pity. So the penalty for theft is fourfold. In the story of Zacheus, Zacheus says to Jesus, "Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor, and if I have wronged any man of anything, I restore him fourfold." Finally, and most importantly, is the curse pronounced on the whore of Babylon. Apocalypse 18 verse 6, render to her as she also hath rendered to you, and double unto her double according to her works. Double unto double is fourfold. The penalty for theft of a lamb, for fraud, a false sacrifice,